Special guest here today, Arlin Sorenson. Arlin, come on up. For those of you who don't know Arlin, he is a legend. In my mind, he is one of the most recognizable men and brands in this business. He grew a very successful MSP through organic sales and through acquisition. He then sold an MSP. He founded HTG Peer Groups, which is now called ConnectWise Evolve. He is one of the greatest people in the channel and someone I admire. I follow his newsletter. I recommend you subscribe to it as well. We've asked him to come in and talk a little bit about M&A and his perspectives on M&A, specifically growing through M&A, which he knows quite a bit about. So, Arlin, look forward to learning from you.
Well, thank you much. Anybody get any phone calls from people that want to buy you? I mean, the phone's ringing off the hook for pretty much everybody right now. And, you know, M&A definitely is a viable tool to use for growth if you have a plan. The mistake I see a lot of people make is they just go start buying things without a plan, and that usually doesn't go well. I would tell you that when partners ask me what's the number one thing I should do if I want to really be serious about my business, get in a peer group, okay? And Terry's right. Evolve doesn't do sales. We do operational stuff. We do service delivery stuff. We tried sales. We're leaving that to Marketopia because we don't know how to do it. So, but that is the most powerful thing you can do as a business leader is get involved with peers. Because you don't need to make every mistake yourself. In fact, you go a lot faster when you don't make every mistake yourself because you listen to somebody else that already did that. So, I'm just going to share my story quick, okay? This is where I live. This is where I built my business. I live in the middle of a cornfield in southwest Iowa, part of a family farming operation where we farm about 3,000 acres. My brother and nephew do the farming. My son Pete and I are on the technology side. And one thing I can guarantee you is you all have more opportunity in terms of customers than I had, okay? The only customers within a mile were family, and they would never pay their bills. So, customers is not the problem, okay? Nothing happens till you sell something. And you got to figure out how you're going to address that challenge. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've founded and got out of 3 companies. I've got more than the 3 listed there happening today. And I've failed multiple times. So it's not easy to run a business. The most fun I had was one that failed, which was called ugliestshirts.com. We had the bright idea of creating shirts that no one would forget to wear to events. And just never really took off, unfortunately. Maybe we were ahead of our time. So I did 8 buy-side acquisitions. I've had 2 sell-side transactions. In my business, we got stuck. We were in markets in western Iowa, but I got stuck for 4 years, right at $4 million in the middle of that cornfield, and decided that if I was going to actually grow, I had to get additional markets. There was just no way I could really continue to grow staying where I was. So we decided to take the M&A route. And I learned the hard way. We were a VAR at the time, trying to learn how to be an MSP. And so we started down the path of doing acquisitions. I did some small ones, I did some larger ones. Some of them were successful, some of them I completely screwed up. And so I didn't have plans for all of them. Things happened. You need to know why you're doing things if you're going to get in the acquisition game. okay? Are you adding a geo? Are you going after a particular labor pool? Is there a customer base you're trying to acquire? Know your why, okay? And it's not important that we focus on the specifics of this stuff, other than to realize that there's a lot of stuff happening around you today. And what I want you to understand is 3 key questions, okay, that you need to be able to answer. And we call this the modes theory. And I'll be keynoting on this in a few hours. But you need to be clearly able to answer these 3 things. What is your destination? Or what are you trying to build? How are you going to get there? What's that journey going to look like? And how long do you have to get there? What's the timeline? You have to be able to answer those 3 questions, because this will guide whether M&A even fits in what you're trying to accomplish. I find a lot of partners haven't really thought through what that end game really looks like. They just get up every day, work their tails off, and assume that someday it's all going to work out. And I can tell you, we see a lot of partners that have worked very hard for 20, 25, 30 years, and they don't have an exit that meets what they thought they were going to have, because they never really knew what they were trying to build. You got to know what it is you're trying to build. That doesn't mean it can't ever change. In fact, every year you need to review that and make sure you're still on that same path. But you need to know what you're trying to accomplish. If all it is I want to make enough money to feed my family, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you think that you're creating a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, then you need to understand how you're going to do that. Because it doesn't happen just because you work hard. Okay? If you don't remember anything else, remember that hard work does not equal business value. Okay? Your hard work is not going to get you a big check when you sell your business. I don't care how many years it is. People don't buy hard work, right? They buy value. And so you got to know what you're trying to accomplish. So we find there's 4 different kinds of companies out there that are in business today. There's the startups, all right? All of us start as startups. The facts are that, according to the Department of Labor, about 95% of companies never exit startup because they never get their arms around the chaos and create a system with the right people and processes and profit to actually get out of startup mode. They just live in chaos. Second kind of company is what we call balance builders. Balance builders are folks that really want to have their organization just support their lifestyle. They work to live. They're not focused on trying to grow drastically. Let me get the right employees, the right clients, the right business model that'll generate the revenue I need so I can have the lifestyle I want. And that's a perfectly fine way to go. The value builders are folks that are playing the long game. We want to just consistently grow a little bit every year, build value in our company, and at some point in the future we're going to transition out, but we will have created enough value to support the lifestyle we want to have in the next chapter. And then there's the empire builders. These are the folks that are all about going fast, go big, go home, hockey stick growth, usually bringing in PE funding to help support their growth approach. And they're all about creating a quick turn. You fit in one of those 4 boxes. Maybe not completely, but most of you fits in one of those 4 boxes. And you need to know which one it is, because that should help you decide where M&A fits in your potential future. So we have a free assessment. If you come to the keynote, you can scan the QR code, take the assessment, and just see where you are today. Doesn't mean you have to stay there, but you need to accept where you're at and then make a specific decision of whether you want to stay there or you want to move to another mode. Okay? The value of this is alignment. Okay? What we find is that if there's multiple partners in a company, they're often on different pages. One might be concerned about creating balance while the other partner might be wanting to grow value. That's a problem. Where it really shows its head is when owners portray one mode, but they act in a different way. And their employees are like, whoa, you just told me yesterday that we didn't have enough money to hire the next salesperson or the next service exec, but yet I saw over the weekend you went and got a new Tesla. Help me understand this, because as an employee, it makes no sense to me. Right? So, modes is a really important part of figuring out who you are, and it will help inform what you ought to do. So, there's some really important things to get your arms around when it comes to M&A. You got to know your why, like I said. And if the why is we need to do it, then it's got to be in your business plan. M&A is not some sideline kind of thing that you hope works out. That will be a very expensive lesson, because it doesn't ever just kind of work out. It'll be the hardest thing you ever try to do. I think one of the most important things for you to do is get a non-negotiables list. Whether you're a buyer or a seller. What has to be true before I'm going to say yes? Either to selling my company or to buying a company. You can waste lots and lots of time around M&A having conversations with people that you're never going to do business with. A non-negotiable list is a way to quickly figure out if there's any potential for this to go anywhere or not. And as I was doing my M&A run, especially on the sell side, somebody would call me up, I'd say, tell you what, before we spend any time talking about this, I'm just going to email you my non-negotiable list. If you're interested after that, let me know. And I screened out 99% of the companies that called me, because we were never going to do business. There were things that I cared about that they weren't going to agree to because it didn't fit their model. And lo and behold, back in 2012, I got a call, sent them my list, and they called back and said, we can live with that. Let's continue to talk. And we did. And we got a deal done. Deal structure, in my opinion, is more important than the price. You got to understand how deals are structured. You need to work with people that can advise you, because it makes all the difference in the world whether or not you're going to come out of that with satisfaction. The one thing I would tell you, whether you think you'll ever do M&A or not, is start today to put together your due diligence. Start to create structure so your contracts are in a particular place, so that all your reporting is in a way you can find it. Due diligence is one of the things that really makes M&A a painful process if you haven't prepared. And I can tell every one of you are at some point going to transition your business away. Not seen one yet that went in the casket when somebody passed, if you hang on to it that long. You're going to transition. So start now getting ready. It'll save you a lot of headache later. Integration's the biggest pain point there is. Bringing two companies together, no matter how much you think they're alike, is a lot of work. So understand that. Get good advisors. Work with people that know what they're doing. Trust them. Have a strategy. Know there's going to be a cost to you in terms of time, talent, and treasure. You got to be willing to put in the time. Even if you're acquiring, you still need to know what your exit strategy looks like. Where's that destination? And one of the more interesting things that have been happening as people have exited is they have a very successful exit, and the day after, they're not happy. Money doesn't buy happiness. Their identity is so tied to their company that once they sell it, they don't know what to do. We're kicking off a set of peer groups next month, actually, for people that have exited. And I've interviewed 20 partners that have decided to become part of it. And well over half of them have told me that since their successful exit, and every one of them got more money than they had ever thought they would get for their companies. Every one of them has said, I've been more miserable since I sold my company than I ever was running it. Because they didn't have a next. They didn't know what they were going to do in the morning. And you can only play golf so much. You can only binge watch TV so much. I mean, it all gets old really fast. So now's the time to be thinking about what's your next. What hobby are you going to have? What community service groups you're going to be part of? Find something and start to build that now. So M&A is a very valid strategy, okay? Everybody wants to know this. Today, it costs a lot of money to buy a company. Valuations are high. Highest I've seen. And they continue to be very, very strong. EBITDA matters the most. People buy companies that make money. So if you're thinking about selling your company, drive your profits up. Because that's what people want to pay for. If you're a buyer, you got to really have a plan. Because you can spend a lot of money and it can take a very long time to recoup it if you don't have a plan. So there's still lots and lots of opportunity out there. Scott Scroggin and I are running a track the next 2 days on M&A, so if you want to get insight from all sides of it, you can come join that and observe those things. There's a lot of info out there. But M&A is really a tool that you can use along with organic growth. One of the things that I've learned from the PE firms that are doing a lot of acquisitions is they still require organic growth. They're not satisfied for you to just acquire and acquire and acquire. You got to know how to sell too, okay? Selling is a critical part of making M&A work. Because you don't just buy customers to have new customers in your CRM package. You buy customers because you want to sell them stuff. So you got to keep your eyes on sales so that you can get a return on these things, right? So this is the track we've got going on the next couple of days. We've got half a dozen sessions, mostly partners sharing their stories. But thank you, and I'll take some questions if there are some. Yeah. Yeah, that's a service leadership thing that we use in the peer groups, and it's really related to how much you pay yourself as the executive in your company. A lot of owners underpay themselves, and so when that business transitions, for them to replace you, it's that delta between what you pay yourself and what another person to replace you is going to cost. Sometimes you're overpaying yourself, so the EBITDA may go up, but more often than not, people are underpaying themselves, so that would then reduce your EBITDA by that delta. Okay? Any other questions? I do, yeah. I write every morning. They're worth it? Good. I'm glad, because they're a heck of a lot of work.
Seeing that you write that, I do appreciate that you do that every morning. I'm sure it takes a little bit out of your day, but...
It takes about an hour and a half out of my day. But, you know, I tell people, if you read all the stuff I write, there's something wrong with you, right? But there's a nugget in there for everybody once in a while. And I just share what happens in my life and what's going on, and hopefully it brings value to folks. Anything else? Yeah.
What did you see when your company is knowing the like that stuff? This is, because of the price. You see, smart,
you know, fixer-uppers are a lot of work. If you got bandwidth and experience, you can do well with them. But you know, what I find more often is that a company is running their people at 100 or 120%. They do an acquisition and they ask the team to just do the integration kind of, you know, on the side when they have time, which they never have, and they just burn people out. So you got to be really specific about fixer-uppers. They can be good, or they can really, really take it out of your team. So it all comes down to having a plan. Know what you're trying to accomplish. Know what resources you've got available. Write the plan. Work with experts to get it done. And then you just got to execute, execute, execute.
Words of wisdom from a living legend. Ladies and gentlemen, Arlin Sorenson.
Thank you. The definition of legend is old guy.
Old guy. He's also an old guy. He's made a lot of mistakes and learned a lot of lessons, but he helps a lot of people, and that's why he fits in so well with our group. So anyway, we appreciate you, Arlin.